Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 826. Now, in today's episode, we're doing a Q&A, which was broadcasted live on YouTube on May the 19th. Because I'm taking a couple of weeks break for my birthday. I'm going back to England to see my family. So I thought I'd just do a nice Q&A before we actually have that break when it comes to the episodes. Now, as I said, it is a Q&A, and on the live stream, people have asked their questions already. We may get a few more, but I want to make sure that we can answer them. And if you're not out on YouTube, as in following me or subscribing, go to youtube.com/Joseph Clough, CLOUGH, youtube.com/Joseph Clough, and that way you'll be able to join us on the lives. We have a pre-show where we get to chat. This episode, as in this for start, and then the after one, and we get to know each other, we get to chat, we get an extra level of support, and people find it very helpful. So, yeah, feel free to join. So let's go ahead into the questions right now. So, the first question is this, and it's a common question, and it is, if I fall asleep during a session, does my mind still hear it? So my answer to that is yes. And that is why, like, for example, on the app, if you listen to any of the hypnosis section, there's a day version and a night version. You can click the sun to the moon, and it changes it into an extension hypnosis session, which also quietens down. So my voice diminishes, the hypnosis music diminishes. So I wouldn't put those out there if I did not think it would work. Now, I know that it does work based on all the feedback that I get from the nighttime sessions. Like, people have messaged me by just listening to the nighttime of the quit smoking. They've let go of 30 years of smoking in just, some of them have been in a couple of days, like that quick. For others, of course, it can take longer. And that's why I recommend like 30 days or 30 nights for the best results. But the fact that I have them on there and the feedback I receive is very powerful, that's why I know. However, if we get into studies, there are studies out there which say yes. But once again, just like how my voice diminishes in the hypnosis session, like it goes less and less and less, and it doesn't wake you up. A lot of the studies have said that the longer you are asleep, the less responsive that you are unconsciously. So if we go into like the different phases of sleep, we've got like light sleep, we got the REM, like rapid eye movement. That means not the band, great band though still, rapid eye movement, and then you have like the deep sleep and so on. So the longer if you think of a scale of going to sleep, you enter a light a light sleep, and then you go into eventually, hopefully for a restorative sleep, a deep sleep, and then you awaken, right? So if we think about it over time and we go into the depth of the trance as well, because sleep is a form of trance, right? It's a level of handing over to the unconscious mind. You will probably not absorb as much as the first 20 minutes or the first 45 minutes. Maybe after an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours, it gets less and less. So studies say yes, you will absorb information, but over the length of that time, it will be more diminished in how much you absorb. But the first hour, you're good to go right there. So absolutely listen to the nighttime hypnosis sessions. And the other reason I like the nighttime ones is it's almost like, what are we? When we're asleep, we're unconscious, right? We're not consciously aware anymore. So imagine as if like there's an athlete with one of the batons on a relay race. That's you, the conscious mind. You got this kind of baton and you're like, okay, this is what I want to let go of. And then suddenly that you kind of hand over that baton to the next person, in this case your unconscious mind, to be able to carry on the race. I almost see the unconscious mind like that. We're listening as we go to sleep, we drift to sleep, but those suggestions carry on and it takes them on your behalf. So I think it can be very, very powerful. And based on the feedback, what I receive all the time, whether it be on the reviews or YouTube or whether it be in emails, people love those ones. So we've also got, so hopefully that answered that question. Feel free to leave another comment and I'll follow up on that for those in the live stream right now. We've got a question right here from Mina, who says, I forgot how I worded it from the other day. Can you talk about being in alignment with your dreams or beliefs? Okay, yeah, really, really good. Think about it once again, conscious and unconscious. You may have a conscious desire for a goal or outcome, but an unconscious resistance. So you may be pulling in one direction to go for, let's just say if it was like, you want to earn, random example, make it monetary just for ease. I want to earn £1 million or $1 million or $1 million, fill in the blank of your currency, euros and so on. You may consciously want it, but if you're out of alignment with that, because the unconscious mind has fear, maybe scarcity, maybe it has limiting beliefs that money is the root of all evil, or money doesn't grow on trees, or it's too hard, or what if I fail, what if I get successful? And you think like, Joseph, what if I get successful getting $1 million? Well, think about it. What is the consequences of you suddenly having $1 million or pounds or euros? Well, maybe your family would be like, can I have some money, please? Maybe friends will treat you differently. Maybe you get new friends who will go, well, I want to be able to take advantage of this person because they have money. So there are consequences to every goal or outcome. Another example, let's just say you're in a relationship with someone and your goal is to lose weight. And say the other person in a relationship is the same weight as you. Let's just say that you're overweight and so are they. Well, if you lose weight, maybe that person in a relationship, if they don't go on the journey with you, maybe they'll get jealous. Maybe you get more attraction now, if that were to be the case, they would create that. So for every goal or outcome, even the money one, get money, you're going to pay more taxes most of the time. If you want a relationship, well, you're going to lose some independence. And that can be a reason why people don't get the relationship they want, because they fear they won't be independent anymore. Or it could be the programming of the past, like the events that they've gone through, like bad money, bad relationships, bad upbringing, which has created these fears and limiting beliefs, which creates this resistance between your conscious desire and your unconscious mind. The other side to it, before we get into more of a solution, is this. You may consciously be sabotaging yourself. Because let's just say those limiting beliefs of not being good enough, worthy, deserving, is going to create self-sabotage, because you're going to be like, what if this happens? So you don't take action. You're not in alignment. You have that resistance and that fear, which creates the sabotaging of that goal or the dream that you have. But maybe there's a conscious element to this. Maybe you want the $1 million, but it feels so far out of your mind, so outside of your comfort zone, that you start to go, can I do this? Do I have the ability? I was actually speaking to someone today who has this business doing good and great, but they want to dramatically grow it. Yet, in order to grow it, they would have to change fundamental parts of their business, which would also mean increasing the investment and so on. Because there's only a few ways of scaling a business. So when we kind of went over that, the amount that they may have to charge, it kind of had fear there, right? Like, what, am I worth that? Am I capable of doing that? Are people willing to spend and invest themselves? So it created this kind of alignment. So sometimes, not all the time, I like to jump into things and just get things going. But sometimes it's good to be able to have the big goal and dream, But then break it down into more manageable pieces. If it's $1 million and you think, oh my goodness, that's way too far out for me to even consciously do it, which triggers my unconscious fears, well, how much resistance do you feel at $500,000? It's going to be less. How much do you feel at $250,000? It's going to be less resistance. Now bring that down to 50,000. Far less resistance compared to the million. So it's good to have the goal and the dream, but to get alignment, sometimes you need to break it down, knowing you're gonna get there. But on the same notion, you got these intermediate steps which just make you feel more comfortable about going that way. If you like put it into weight loss, if you go, I gotta lose 100 pounds, that's a lot. Well, if you focus on losing your first 5 or 10 pounds, less resistance. So sometimes we need to do the conscious work, and that causes us to fall more in alignment. But once again, the unconscious resistance of the limiting beliefs, the emotions which have fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of hurt, fear of messing up, the fear of being found out. All of those fears come from belief systems or things that we've modeled, which once you undo will allow you to fall into alignment, where your conscious and your unconscious mind are 100% congruent with the goals and desires. So your job is to have the big goal and dream, maybe break it down, but then work on if there's any unconscious resistance. And it's easy to know if you've got it or not, because you're either 100% aligned and you're making things happen. You have no fear, worries, or doubts about yourself or getting the goal. But if you do have fears, worries, and doubts, or anxieties, or limiting thoughts or beliefs about yourself or the goal, then you're not going to quite get there as quickly as you like, sometimes never, until you actually work on those blocks that are getting in the way. So hopefully that helps when it comes to the congruency. By the way, a small side test when I'm making decisions. I think I may have said this before, but the thing that I do just to see about my unconscious alignment, I think of the decision I want to make. And as I think about the decision I want to make, I put my hand on my chest or my heart, and then I notice if I feel like I'm moving forward or moving backwards, right? Now, that's no scientific test, but it is a physiological resonance, right? You're going to see if there's any hesitation in your body or a heaviness compared to a lightness of going forward. So it is more somatic in its nature, and we're just kind of tuning into the unconscious mind. So it's a very small test, and like I said, it's not scientifically backed up, but the mind and body is connected. And if you kind of go, yeah, I'm all in, then great, you probably feel more congruent aligned. But if you kind of notice there's any resistance, even when you speak about it, you see 93% of all communication is unconscious. So 7% is like, yeah, I'm going to go for that goal. But if your tone is going, yeah, I'm going to go for that goal, or if it has fear to it, or your physiology is going backwards, yeah, I'm going to go for that goal, then there's a miscommunication there. So sometimes you want to test the physiology. Get my words kind of right. The physiology, I can't even say it now. The physiology, the neurology, the somaticness, by just getting in touch with your being. We tend not to. So it's good to be able to get into that connection right there. Another question is from Kevin. When the relationships fail, it's so hard to not blame myself. Say, not good enough thinking. How do you get over the feelings of lack of self-worth in general? So, when it comes to something like this, things like our evidence of who we are is showing up all around us. Like money situations usually, and this may kind of get some resistance from you because you go, that's not true, Joseph. Well, sometimes our money situation is a direct reflection of our beliefs about money or about ourselves. Sometimes our relationships, the quality of them, are in a direct relation to how you perceive or believe about yourself or relationships. Same thing for health, same thing for career, same thing for everything. What is showing up, this is how I like to say it, what is showing up is based on what I'm doing, right? Like that's my evidence, how life is showing to me. So then I want to kind of go, well, and there's another side note actually, what we do in one thing, we tend to do in everything. Like, it's not like I'm not good enough doesn't usually just show up in relationships. It can show up in our career, it can show up in our health, it can show up into our connection to a religion or our spirit or whatever it may be. Any area of life, in other words. So the coreness of us usually creates the results that we get across the board most of the time. So have a sentence, what I do in one thing, I tend to do in everything to a greater degree, right? It's not, once again, it's not scientific, but I find that's a common trait. It doesn't just happen usually in one area. So then I've got to ask myself a question that if I were to know that I was good enough, and therefore I either did my best in that relationship, or I can learn from it because I know that I'm more than good enough, I know I'm of value as a person, then I'm going to always learn and grow, right? That means every so-called bad relationship becomes a learning experience of refining what you want or what you need to improve upon. Because look, in all relationships, it's a do-with process, right? Like you're both putting energy in, and it should be 100% matching each other, not a 50-50. So that goes back to like, well, how do I let go of the feelings of lack of self-worth? Well, if the relationship is showing up that way, the good news, it points back to our identity. So my job as a person is to do whatever I can to let go of the core of the issue. Now that for you could be the I'm not good enough. For others, it could be I'm not worthy. It could be the fear of failure, fear of rejection, all these different kind of things. Everyone experiences it differently. But if you were to ask yourself, if I knew and I'm going to do across the board here, if I knew I was worthy, deserving, enough, of value, lovable, what would happen to that relationship? How I'd either perceive the past one, or how I perceive a future one. Now, if I show up differently, then I'd be going, well, I've got to work on that, right? One question I like to ask, what belief do I have about myself that makes all these things exist and show up in my life? And it usually goes back to an identity statement that then I want to let go of. And that then puts you in a state of learning. So going into the how, there are many different ways. So you could work with a practitioner on that identity statement. You could work with me personally to let go of that identity statement if the person's a good fit and they're ready to let it all go. Because I'm just personally very selective, because I just want to work with people I like, people I love, people I love solving their issues, and I don't choose to solve everything. I just choose to focus on a couple of things. But you could then use it at one of my hypnosis sessions, because I have a wide range right there as well. But there's many different ways of the how. It's about finding the one which is resonant of the process, the vehicle of change, and making sure you're on a root cause. Because that's going to go into another question. This person, great question. Absolute great question. And that is, when does hypnosis not work? Now that's a great question, right? So how can that possibly be? Well, kind of goes back to what I was just saying. Hypnosis doesn't always work because of a few reasons. Either we're working with someone who doesn't know how to make that change. I'm going to sadly say this, but most practitioners of change are part-timers. Now that's not like a bad thing. They're going to be good, but you got to, I think, like I don't want to be working with a part-time surgeon. Let's put it that way, as an ideal. So know that sometimes the practitioner doesn't know everything. They don't know all the right questions to ask or the processes. Now they'll get there if they're persistent, right? So it's not to say don't work with someone who's part-time, because I was once part-time and I really wanted to work with people and I got my results. But I also know, having done this for a long time, 23 or so years in November, but I've been doing this for so long, I kind of do things because I know that it's possible. So choosing the right practitioner in knowledge, but the other aspect here, which is choosing the person you admire, enjoy, or like, or resonate, or have rapport with. If you're working with someone who you don't have that, then don't work with that person. Let's say, for example, if my voice just grated you on the inside, please don't listen to me. I will not take it personally. Not everyone's going to love what I say. In fact, someone said this just the other day, that I sound like I could be Hannibal Lecter. They definitely said that on YouTube. Now, if there's a new role going up, yeah, I'll maybe go into a bit of acting, but look, not everyone's going to resonate with me. And that's okay, because there's so many other people out there who will resonate with me. And for that person, there's so many other people that they could resonate with too. So fundamentally, you want to make sure you work with someone to make hypnosis work who you really enjoy, who they know the answer, and they also have the right vehicle of change. The other thing is, which to me is one of the big ones, is to not work on symptoms. It drives me up the wall when I see people just focusing on what they experience the most. It's like going to a doctor and saying, look, doctor, I've got this headache, sore throat, stomach ache, aches, pains, fever, shiver, bad stomach every time I eat, sinus infection. And the doctor goes, oh, hold up. Here's a list I'm going to give you. 1 pill for the headache, 1 for the stomach, 1 for the aches and pains, 1 for the fever, 1 for the shiver, 1 for every time you eat you feel bad, and 1 for the sinuses. Now suddenly you've got 10 pills you got to take every single day for the rest of your life just to manage your symptoms. A doctor would be mad. They shouldn't be a doctor. You go to a different doctor who's good, who will know their stuff. They'll say, hey, based on all those symptoms, I think you got a bacterial infection. That may not be true because, as an example, I'm no doctor. Here's some antibiotics, and not only will it let go of the bacterial infection, because that's what antibiotics do, but also it will let go of all the symptoms, because those symptoms lead to a root. So sometimes when hypnosis won't work is because we're working on the wrong thing. We're working on the presenting issue and not the root issue. And that kind of goes back to working with someone who knows how to get to that place, who just knows the subject inside out. The other thing is, when it comes down to you, right? You got to put the effort and the work in. Like, if that hypnotist gives you all the strategy and you don't show up to the appointment, or you don't do the exercise, the assignment, well, you're not really going to get the result there. Okay, so I've always said hypnosis is not a do with, it's a do with. Sorry, it's not a do to, it's a do with process. It's a cooperative flow of energy where you get to work with someone and they get to work with you, even as a client. So that's when hypnosis doesn't work. Quick recap: they're not knowledgeable enough. You don't resonate with them. And this is not just hypnosis. This is for all forms of therapy. You can change hypnosis to counseling. You can change counseling to primal scream therapy, inner child therapy, all the stuff. It doesn't matter. If the person's not knowledgeable enough in their endeavor, then you're not going to get the result probably. Because they don't know how to find the root cause. If you don't resonate with them, you're going to have a form of resistance, whether it be me or someone else. If you don't find the root cause, which kind of goes back to a competent practitioner of change, or finally, we've also as a client got to go, I'm willing to do the work. I'm ready to go all in and do what has to be done. So that's what I would say of when hypnosis doesn't work, that's what I'd be really looking into. Now we got a question, really good question once again actually. Why does hypnosis work? So hypnosis works because You are meeting the issue where it lives. Now, if you could change consciously, you would click your fingers and you would be free. You just do it like that, like clicking your fingers, hitting the light switch, you'll be done. If you cannot do it consciously, it must mean something else is running the issue. And that is the subconscious or the unconscious, depending how you term it. I just use unconscious because that's what I've always done. But when I say it, I also mean subconscious. And hypnosis is the tool to meet the unconscious mind, right? So we are meeting the unconscious mind. So that is why hypnosis works. And also fundamentally, if we go back to why we have issues, usually they're going to have bad results because you're not happy, that's why they're a problem, but good intentions, right? Anxiety is jumping to every bad conclusion, all the worst case scenario, but with the intent to try to protect you from those scenarios. If you feel like you're an imposter, like you're in a job but you feel like you're going to get found out because you don't know enough, all these things, well, intentionally, it's a protective mechanism. It's trying to keep you safe, play small, stay in your comfort zone. So if we can get in touch with get in touch with your unconscious mind, we find the root cause, we know the intention, protection in this case, and then give it an alternative strategy of being safe while simultaneously knowing that you're more than good enough and capable. Biologically, your unconscious mind has to change, because when it realizes it's not keeping you safe, it may be doing it intentionally, but it recognizes all this pain and trauma, the bad relationships, the debt, the emotional stress, on the neurology, the lack of sleep, the over-anxious physiology. Once it gets to realize that strategy is not working, there's an alternative, which is still safe, biologically, it has to change, because it's like a primary reason as to why the unconscious mind is here, which is a protective mechanism. It does the healing of the body. If I cut myself, I don't have to do anything but keep it clean. I don't magically put my mind consciously to kind of send all the right cells and all the other things which happens to heal that. My body does it naturally. So fight and flight response, habits, memories, values, all of these things are there for the intention as an umbrella to protect. So hypnosis works, once again, because if you could consciously change, you would. If you cannot change, it must mean it's unconscious or subconscious. You meet the issue where it lives, because hypnosis is the process of getting in touch with your unconscious mind, and with a good practitioner to be able to find the root cause, provide the new safety mechanism while simultaneously being happy, worthy, deserving, or good enough, whatever it is. And therefore, it has to change because it's biologically programmed to be healthy and happy and grow as a person. It just doesn't have the skills to know it or to do anything different. Why? Because the chances are you've had this issue for a long time, so it's habitual, it's in your neurology, it's on your neuroassociations, it's in the neurosynaptics. And on top of that, the chances are the time of that decision of, say, I'm not good enough, was under stress. Maybe you're just a baby or a 5-year-old. You didn't know anything different. So your unconscious mind made that decision in that moment based on the learnings and the knowledge that you had in that moment. And not being mean to young people, like 5-year-olds, but they don't know much. They don't have enough life experience to go, oh, that person said I'm not good enough. That's true. Like, we take things personally, especially when we're young. In sociology, the first 7 years of our life is the imprint. So we're being imprinted by everything around us. The next 7 years in sociology is the modeling. We're just modeling everyone in our life because we have no frame of reference. So under the time of that stress, where someone said something mean, did something mean, or a number of events, significant emotional events, we'll make a decision about our identity because we take it personally. So that's why hypnosis works, in other words. Got a question here from Med saying, for major change work, like stopping bad habits like smoking, how deep should a person be induced into trance, or how deep? So I would actually say smoking is not major change work. I think it's more simplistic in that, in my opinion. I would say major change work is those who are, and it could be for smokers too, of course, but when the big core issues of like, I'm not worthy as a person, I'm not of value. But in general, how deep a person should go for any form of change can be absolutely the lightest trance that you can imagine to the deepest. I actually get my best results in the lightest of the lightest trance, but the physiology of the unconscious mind performing for me in a way and convincing the person. I do processes with my people where the physiology is convincing them, like they're not in control. It sounds weird, and I don't want to go into details of it, but it's in the lightest trance. Their eyes are open. They're consciously listening to me. Yet their physiology is showing the unconscious mind's gone, I'm letting this go on your behalf. So really, the depth of hypnosis, I don't really care for. I usually suggest to go to the deepest level of trance that is needed to make the change. And that is good news. That means for those people thinking, I've got to be out for the count to make the total change, doesn't matter anymore. You can change in the lightest trance. You can change in a deep trance. But I don't really mind as long as the results are in, that they're free of it. And like I said, and their neurology will show me and show the person even in the lightest trance. I mean, it's a great question because I don't want people to think that you've got to be out for the count to make a change. You can be in the lightest trance. Speaking of trances, another great question from Christy, the difference between hypnosis and meditation. Well, take that word trance, or change that trance to learning state. Meditation is a form of a trance. Just like the TV trance, when you're talking to someone and they're watching TV and they're not paying attention. Just like the driving trance even, that you actually go, oh my goodness, how did I get here? I was listening to this podcast, or I was listening to this music, or I was listening to this radio station. I just don't even remember how I got there. Well, it's a trance. It's an unconscious process more so. Because you still stop when you need to stop. You'll get to where you want to be, and you just get there. So think of meditation as a learning state or a different trance. But they both have beneficial reasons. Now, I love meditation, and of course, I love hypnosis. But if I were to distinguish the two, knowing they're both levels of learning states or trances, is the meditation is the conscious observation of your thoughts, right? It's like the becoming the observer of your own thoughts, where you get to have a thought, let it go, or observe the thought for what it is and be at peace with it. I mean, I'm putting it very simplistically because there are so many different versions of meditation, right? So from the transcendental meditation to the lightest meditations, which I really love. One of my really good friends taught me a great process in meditation, and it's so much easier. But in general, it's being the observer of thought, being more mindful, right? Hypnosis is different because you're almost bypassing the conscious observation. Like consciously, you don't have to be there. You don't have to consciously observe the process. You could be asleep and still change. You could be in the lightest trances, but to me, as much as I love you and respect you and like you, I don't care about the conscious mind most of the time. I'm more in caring about the unconscious mind. So yeah, you can listen, you can drift and you can dream, but you're out of you don't have to be there. So think about it as hypnosis is bypassing the critical conscious thinking, that means you are directly with the unconscious mind. So I mean, I could talk about that a lot deeper, but simplistically, they're both learning states or trances, but they have different vehicles. One, you're becoming more of the conscious observer, typically. So the stereotypical meditation is becoming the consciously observing thought. So you're more dissociated and more observing and less subjective. Where hypnosis is bypassing the conscious mind, and that's why you would usually work with a hypnotist or like an audio program. That's why the hypnosis sessions work, because you get to listen, drift, and dream, but not have to pay attention all the time. And once again, that could be the lightest to the deepest of trance. I don't really mind. So hopefully that helps on that one. Got a great question here from Rosella. What is satisfying to you, the most that you've accomplished? I would probably say my work that I put out online, because it does blow my mind. And also another one as well. But the fact that we've had almost 14 million downloads, but at any given minute, because I've got some analytics on this, I have 70 people around the world listening to me. So even right now, there's 70 other people every minute listening to me. That blows my mind. So I'd probably say that is something that I'm most accomplished or satisfied with, yet still kind of go, how is this even possible? Like, I don't, like, even now I'm doing a live stream, and that's kind of mad that people are paying attention. Not because I have imposter syndrome, I just think it's really weird to know that people are around the world listening to me. So it's very, very weird, but I'm also very accomplished with that. The other thing I'm very accomplished is my main program, because I just love how it gets the results that we're getting. Because it's so in-depth. I don't think there's another program in the world which goes into that level of depth of transformation, from the root to the support to the connection with everyone. So I'd say that as a side one, but it's not as meaningful. I mean, it's very meaningful, of course, but I'm talking about the impact of the episodes, all of those kind of things. Like the fact we've done 826 episodes, I'd never believe when I first my ever podcast that anyone would be listening to me in the beginning. But now that we're getting over 150, 70,000 downloads a month, and when I said the 70 people, that's not even people on YouTube, that's not even people on the app, like the hypnosis sessions on the app, that's just literally from an aspect of the podcast. So that is something which kind of goes, wow, that's an accomplishment for me. What is a good way to test how deep a person is when been induced without risking breaking them out of trance? So there's more for the practitioners here. So how to test how deep the trance is without the risk of breaking them out of trance. If they're in a trance and you're doing it right, you won't break them out of trance. You will, like, if you think of stage hypnosis, that, because that's all true. You kind of get them up, go down, you're getting them to do silly things, you're getting to move around, you're getting them to sometimes stand on, or like with their legs on one chair and their head on the other chair, and then the hypnotist stands on top, which they shouldn't do because they don't know about their back issues. But they're consciously in a trance, but they're being moved around. So I don't really too much care for it. For example, if I have like one of my pets make a noise, or if there's someone at the door, if there's a crash or a bang, or if there's a telephone call from they didn't turn off their phone, I just go ignore it, don't worry. I utilize it, if anything. So I'll usually test the depth of trance is by the result of the outcome that we're after when it comes to that side of things. But I wouldn't care about risking breaking out of trance, because they're either in or they're not. So that's what I would say on that one. What is the fastest way to attract a large amount of money? Now, with this one, I'm ever so much a realist. I don't want to make people's dreams and goals to making like a ton of money overnight, because although, yeah, we can win the lottery, although we can receive it in ways, known and unknown ways, from inheritance to the law of attraction. But I like to think the money we receive is the equal value to what we put out there into the world. Sometimes we've got to let go of our own limiting beliefs of our value, but the nature of me saying that is because it must mean, therefore, we have to act upon it. So we've got to ask ourselves, if I have the desire to make the fastest amount of money and to attract it in my life, am I also doing the work to make it a reality? So that is from the actions that we do, and those actions can also mean not doing certain actions, because if we're doing the same thing over and over again, it's the definition of insanity. So says our Einstein. And it's kind of true, right? If you, or the definition, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Because you got to sometimes pivot or adapt and learn from what is and isn't working. That's where time takes place. Have we invested in the skill set to be able to attract that amount of money? Like, are we, and that goes back to, are we delivering results for someone? Like, if I can deliver a result, I can charge a good amount of money, or I can get a position in a company to yield that. Of course, we can go into the law of attraction, and that also means letting go of that resistance, the limiting beliefs, all the things which is getting in the way, which will then allow us to have them be far more aligned. So I definitely, we want to let go of that resistance, which goes back to one of the first questions of congruency of the goals and the outcome. So refer back to that one again, because that went into the resistance of what we can have, which is getting in the way. I actually answered this question really, like, how does hypnosis work? Like, bypassing the conscious mind. I've got a question here. Are you excited about your birthday? So if you don't know, if you listen to the podcast, it's been and gone, and it was probably great. But my birthday is on May the 24th, and I'm going back to England to see my friends and my family, and I'm absolutely excited to do so. I'm leaving in just a couple of days, and got a ton of things to do. I know we've been going for a long time on this live stream, but I'd like to deliver. But yeah, I'm super excited. Joseph, is reprogramming your mind the best way or the only way to change? I would say yes. We got to, and by reprogram, I'm going to just put a different word on it so it resonates with everyone. It's about evolving the brain. It's about evolving the mind. Go back to the intention. The root cause is trying to protect you. It's a deep root cause that we have, but it's a protective mechanism. So the only way to reprogram is to evolve the unconscious mind into a new safety mechanism. So yeah, I mean, we are programmed to learn more and more. One of the things which makes us kind of different from other species, we have this weird obsession of learning. We go to school, we go to high school, secondary school, what have you. Some people go to university. You're here right now because I'm hopefully delivering it, but you're at least wanting to learn. We are geared for adaptation. If you think about all the innovation in technology, all the innovation of needing to buy more things, there's always something new. So that is very different from any other species in the world. So we're designed to grow, but unfortunately, we get stuck along the way with these psychological, emotional, unconscious, and conscious issues. So we want to evolve the unconscious mind, and evolving is learning, and learning is changing. So absolutely, the best way to reprogram and evolve the unconscious mind is the best way. And in my opinion, the real only true way of changing. Even those people just wake up one day and go, that's it, I'm done. That's an epiphany. That's 100% congruent conscious and unconscious decision right there. Really good question. So, so I was just coughing to myself there. I need to quickly hydrate. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly go back to see if we've got any more questions. I think we're pretty much done. Let me just see. I think we're done. If not, I'll answer it after the stream, which is a good reason to be here for when we're here. I'll actually see one here. My husband is here for this, and he wants to know if hypnosis would help to know whether or not you're being taken advantage of in business. So let me put it on the screen as well, because it's a really good question. Let me just see. We've got some more questions as well. so I'll do my best to answer them. Anyway, my husband is here. He wants to know if hypnosis would help to know whether or not you are being taken advantage of business. Yes. You see, hypnosis is all about communication. So when I teach people hypnosis, the only way you know they're in trance is what we would call sensory acuity, or you could change it to sensory awareness. And if I go back to what I said, that 93% of communication is unconscious. So if you're just taking in the conscious words, but then understanding actually they're communicating so much in their tone, in their congruency, it will give you the telltale signs of if it's true or not. Now, in some cases, when you do learn hypnosis, you have things called eye patterns. And it's not strictly all scientific, but people tell a lot from where their eyes go. And I'm not gonna, that's like a whole masterclass in itself. But yes, hypnosis is a great way, not necessarily the process of hypnosis to get better, or to see if you're getting taken advantage in business, but more about understanding how you communicate, how you show up, but also how you observe the unconscious communication that everyone's radiating. Like when I teach this and they practice it, they're like, oh my goodness, that person's like a lighthouse to me now. They're showing up with all this new information that I was consciously deleting and distorting or putting my own spin on it. But suddenly you cut through and understand there's so much more. So I would absolutely say yes. Hypnosis would absolutely help to know if you're taking advantage of, because it gives you a heightened acuity in the communication between yourself and other people. You'll be able to see so much more, but also feel so much more because you're more in tune with that. So, yeah, I would absolutely say so. Let me just see if I can see any. It's kind of hard because I want to make sure it's on the podcast as well. Hi Joseph, is hypnosis safe for people with autism? As I've known people say it's not. I actually haven't got a title on autism. I don't actually know enough about it. So here's what I would do for anything, and this is for everyone. Ask your medical practitioner. I highly recommend people doing that. Like, they're there to support you, and then do your research as well. I've never worked with anyone with autism, but I have to say, I've received feedback where people love my work when they have been diagnosed with autism. So it's like, I say, look, get a referral, make sure it's good with your medical practitioner for like issues and things. But the fact that I know people have said, yes, my work has worked and helped them, I think that's awesome. But I would also recommend kind of reaching out for that one as well. I'm just trying to see. I think that's it. But if not, I will go ahead on the post stream or the post ending of this episode. You can let me know if I missed a question in the chat. But hopefully you enjoyed that and got value from that. And once again, if you enjoy my work, please go ahead and leave a review. This is all free work. So if you would like to just leave a free review, because it's only your time, go to josephclough.info/review. And we can help more people in the world to make the changes that they truly desire. That's what I'm really here for. I don't mind doing the live streams. I don't mind doing the podcast episodes. But if you'd be so kind to leave a review, I'd be so grateful in every single way. And of course, if you ever need to work with me personally and my team and my strategy, and you're experiencing like the imposter syndrome of being not good enough, worthy and deserving, and you're invested in yourself, you're like, yeah, I'm ready to do this for me, to go all in on myself in time and as an investment, because it's not a free program. Go to josephclough.info/talk and you'll fill out a small application form. You'll go ahead and attend a one-to-one call with a team, and we'll get clear on what you want to let go of, exactly what you want to achieve, what's getting in the way, and if we can solve it, we'll let you know, and we may invite you into the program. But we only work with really invested people ready to let this go. So that's josephclough.info/talk. And with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this marathon of a Q&A, and I hope you're enjoying my work. So with that, many thanks, and goodbye.